Listen to the Vibes.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Listen to the Vibes. And I'm very excited because I have Mr. Ivan Bodley here. And if you scroll through his Facebook page and see his photos, he's been around everybody. Let's start off. Just tell us a little bit about you.
A little bit about me. Wow. There's so much to tell. I wrote a book about it. There's a lot going on. I grew up in Chattanooga, Tennessee. Went to school in New Orleans. Started playing music kind of late in life, and sort of as a senior in high school. And kind of got to it through a roundabout sort of way. I actually went into the music business first. I used to work for a major record label as a publicist when I was just a puppy right out of school, and then decided what I really wanted to do was play, and quit my day job, handed in my corporate Amex card, knocked around for about a year and a half, and then went back to music school. Went to Berkeley College of Music up in Boston because I wanted to fill in sort of the gaps in my education that were missing, and decided to come back to New York to see if I could actually make a go of it, knowing that there was absolutely no guarantee, that I was going to be able to pay rent, much less, have any success in the business. And that was 30 years ago this year. I haven't had a day job since 1995.
Oh, wow.
So I at the end of every calendar year, I just kind of look around and go, well, I fooled him again. I don't know how I did it. And then the top line of the bio says that I've played with 50 inductees into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I've appeared in 12 different Broadway shows, inductee in the New York Blues Hall of Fame. And the book, the title kind of describes who I am. It's called Am I Famous Yet? Memoir of a Working Class Rock Star. Because that's what I feel like I am. I work for a living. I lift my own amps. I drive my own car. I'm not no limousines where I come from. That was back in the record company days. So that's when I was a publicist for Epic Records. So my big clients then were Living Colour and Joan Jett and the Blackhearts, Stanley Clark, jazz bass player. I worked a little bit with Luther Vandross. I was around when Michael Jackson put out the Bad album, things like that. I was around REO Speedwagon at the time, sort of thing. So I had a lot of photo ops, worked with Cheap Trick, people like that. I had a lot of photo ops with those guys, backstage at concerts or, when we would do publicity parties for the label. But there weren't people that I had played music with, there are people that I work with on the business side. So some of those early rock star photos, like I put them literally in a Foot Locker in a trunk, and it was in my dad's attic for 30 years, I think, before I finally unearthed it and found it. Because when I decided I was going to be a musician, a player, I said, all right, well, I don't really have claim to, Gene Simmons, because I never worked with the guy. Just, it's a photo op from an industry event. So I started trying to build my resume just only of people that I'd actually worked with, been on stage with my bass in my hand kind of thing. And then when I saw these pictures 30 years later, I was like, nah, that counts, because it laid the foundation for the path that I walked and who I became. So yeah, I met Gene Simmons for a good 1/100th of a second, however long it took to snap the shutter on the camera. But I'm like, yeah, I was there. I was in the room with him,
What's your bass of choice?
I got my camera facing the wrong way. If you can see, I got about 20 of them here on the wall, and they're all different shapes and sizes and flavors and colors and sparkly and natural wood and whatever else. And I played 2 of them. There's only 2 of them I ever hardly use more than once in a while. So in the front hall closet by the door, there's a gig bag, and that's the A bass, the main one that goes out with me to the job every night. So right at the moment, that is a Fender Precision bass with a Fender Jazz bass neck on it. It's actually a signature model from Adam Clayton from the band U2. It's his signature model bass. So it's a purple metal flake finish with a matching metal flake headstock, the 60s lollipop tuners on it, and abalone fret inlays. It's pretty, it's a pretty P bass, but it's sparkly. It looks good under the lights, and that's been my main bass for about the last 3 or 4 years now. But if another gig comes up, like, if I do a gig that's primarily like a jazz bass type of gig, the jazz bass will go in the bag and it might stay in there for 3 or 4 months by the door, or if it's a Music Man kind of gig, if it's like a disco show, the Music Man might go in the bag and that'll stay in the bag for like 3 or 4 months till I change it out for something. But the P bass, because of most of the gigs that I've done, like that have been sort of my bread and butter over the years, have been working with Stax and Motown artists. So, and all those records were all cut on a P bass. So to sort of be true to that sound, that's a P bass sound. So that's what I've been using.
Do you have some good stories for when you're on the road?
I got 1,000 of them, man. That's why, that's why I wrote the book. It's all road stories. And somebody was talking about this the other day. Like, I had a guy ask me, he's like, so many of the stories in the book are about things that have gone wrong, where things go really haywire. And I was thinking, he was trying to sort of ask me, like, why didn't you quit the business if it was just all bad all the time? I'm like, well, it wasn't all bad all the time, but when something goes good, like we went to the concert, it was great, everybody loved it, and we had a nice dinner and we went home. There's no story there, there's only something to tell if something blew up or somebody fell over or somebody got somebody got shot or a car got stolen. That's when you got a story to tell. I sort of got to a point where I kind of hit a wall. I said, there's really nothing else I want to do. I couldn't see myself doing anything else. Like, I'd gone to undergraduate, I'd gone to engineering school, and I was like, I'm not going to be an engineer. I didn't even graduate. I graduated with like a psychology degree. And then I went to the music business, and the music business is all about marketing. Like, they could be selling soap. It just happens to be they're selling records, vinyl records at the time, So, I kind of got to this reality check came in. It's like, oh, that's the only thing I really want to do. And that's kind of a drag, because you realize, like, it's such a unlikely event that you're going to actually be able to pay the rent doing this, much less have any success at it. But you have to have that sort of level of love for it, or dedication to it, or lack of anything else you can envision yourself doing to be able to take the constant, rejection that goes along with, blowing auditions, or, not getting called for gigs that you used to have, or, I've been fired from some epic jobs, but I've also been hired to replace the guy who's been fired probably almost as many times. Sort of in retrospect, I don't, it's hard to take it personally. Although at the time when you get fired from a job you really want, it's like, oh man, this is not good.
And you were on Broadway doing Rock of Ages, right?
Yeah, I was a sub on that show. The Broadway thing, there's the terms they use. There's a person who holds the chair, who's the main person who does the show. Mm-hmm. And then each person in the band has about 5 different subs, because it's 8 shows a week, 52 weeks a year. So, if a show runs that long, so you can't physically do all the shows without A, going crazy, or B, just having, mental or physical health, or if you have other things that you do, sometimes you can sub out up to 50% of your jobs and keep your chair. So I was a sub on Broadway in 12 different shows that I've done, and Rock of Ages was the first one that I did. And Winston Roy, the great Winston Roy, who was the bass player on that show, was also simultaneously touring with the band Soul Asylum. So he was constantly going out on the road. He'd go out for the weekend with Soul Asylum, fly to Minneapolis to go to rehearse with Soul Asylum. So, he had 5 of us in rotation subbing for him. And that show ran for 5.5 years on Broadway. I think I did 300 performances at Rock of Ages over the course of the run. What an experience, man. Really great.
I never got to see it on stage. I saw the movie.
Oh, the movie. Yeah, the movie was a different kind of hang.
It was okay.
yeah. Exactly right. It was okay. It's okay. But the stage show was so great because, it was a 5-piece rock and roll band. The band was on stage the whole time. We were in costume. We're in makeup. We had choreography. We had lines. We had stage business. It was like playing a concert every night. And as you know, they do the thing sometimes what they call stunt casting, where they'll bring in like a guest star to come to star for 3 months at a time to sort of, boost ticket sales, whatever. So the first stunt cast they brought in was Dee Snider from Twisted Sister.
Oh, wow.
So we had Dee in the cast for like 3 months, and that was a trip, man. What a cool guy. What a great singer he is, too. There's a whole chapter in my book I wrote in called Gigs I Didn't Get and Why. And I'm listing people, most people don't do this. They like to focus on their successes, but I'm just telling you, like, there's a whole chapter of stuff in people that I either auditioned for and blew the audition, or there's a scheduling conflict, or the phone call never came, or, one thing and another. It's like, it's 1,000 different reasons. And some big people, like I almost played with this person. I almost played with that person. And just like so many things get by you. I almost played with Keith Richards. Almost played with him.
No way.
I was booked to go to a studio gig to replace a bass part. He was playing on a Hubert Sumlin record. And they said, yeah, we need to fix this bass part. Can you come in on Monday, bring your upright bass and play? And I'm like, I'm going to be playing on a track with Keith Richards. Are you serious? They're like, yeah, no, cool. And I was like, great, be there. No, 9 a.m. Monday, whatever it was, Sunday, they called me. It's like, yeah, no, we decided to go another way. We're just going to leave the track as is, thanks anyway. We'll get you in on something else. I was like, okay, well,
You could at least brought me in to meet the guy.
Right. Or even if he wasn't going to be there, just to say that I had bragging rights to, that kind of thing. But that happens so many times, you get these near misses. It's just part of the business,
Mm. What's one of the weirdest gigs you've ever done? Because when I saw Kiss in Frisco,
yeah,
they were in Frisco, Texas. They had country bands out there. Daughtry sang out there. I'm like, this doesn't go with Kiss. If you run across that situation.
Oh yes, very much. I'll tell you, I got some really weird ones. But there's the way you just said that. Talking about the bands that didn't quite mix and match the right way, reminded me of this one specific gig which I didn't write about in the book because I forgot about it till you just said that. We were doing. I did a year on the road 2 years on the road with Gloria Gaynor. First I was afraid, I was petrified, I will survive. Great disco diva singer. And we did an AARP convention in Orlando, Florida, right? Stay with me, right? So right down front by the stage, there's like a roped off area that's like for scooter parking. I'm like, okay, I know where we are now. We're in this huge convention center. Like on the other side, our dressing rooms are like these two adjacent sort of Winnebagos. And the other band on the gig is Los Lobos.
Oh, no.
So we had this Mexican roots rock Americana, tremendous act. They're wonderful.
Oh, yeah.
They're great.
I love them.
And, me too. And then Gloria Gaynor. I'm like, what, it made no sense, and I remember passing the Lobos guys sort of in the hallway, and they just kind of had these blank looks on their face. Like they didn't know either. Like, we're not sure how we're here and how this makes any sense. Our booking agent told us to show up. And then like a couple of years later, I happened to be playing like a $50 blues gig in the corner of this bar in New York City called the Ear Inn. We start at midnight. It's like midnight to 3 kind of thing on a Monday night kind of thing. And playing with a trio, just a really cool, funky New York kind of hang. And the guys from Los Lobos walk in because they just played across town. They wanted to go have a drink after the show. And I met their manager. He was the chatty one. He came up to say, "Hey man, you sound great." And I'm talking. I said, "You know what? I got a funny Los Lobos story." I said, I was at the gig with Gloria Gaynor at the AAR. He said, "You were there at that gig?" He immediately introduced me to the guys. He was at the Gaynor gig, at the AARP gig. Like they remembered it immediately. He's like, "Oh man, really strange, really strange." Not the first time, not the last time. When you're working with classic rock, classic soul, oldies kind of acts, I've played many retirement villages, retirement conventions, AARP. I've done all that circuit. It's really funny.
Some of the older folks that you played with, have you gotten close to some of them and maybe they passed away or something along that line?
Yeah, I've had some friends who have gone on home, as they say. Again, it's part of life. It's like when you hear of somebody in their 80s passing on, you're like, all right, well, that wasn't totally unexpected. That
Yeah.
this definitely happens. Yeah, there's a whole, unfortunately, in the back, when you write a book, in the back, you put all the acknowledgments. I want to thank all this person, that person, that person, you whole paragraph of people that have ever encouraged you along your path. And then sort of below that, I had to list a whole bunch of people who have gone on. And I was amazed at how long the list was. I have a picture you might have seen on my website there. There's a picture of me and Stevie Ray Vaughan. And it's I worked as a publicist on, for his record label. And I really only met him once or twice. I met the guys in the band a little bit more than I met him, but I knew his manager real well.
Mm-hmm.
And I worked on his account, he was clean and sober for the first time in his life. He was playing better than ever. He was just musically, he was on fire. And then, as soon as he really got his life together and was like, had this bright future ahead of him, this tragic helicopter accident just took him out. And it was devastating, man, just as a fan. And, I remember writing a letter to his manager, just, it just affects you, it really hits home, because it's people that are doing the same thing that you aspire to do. Like, I'm trying to think, if somebody offered me a helicopter ride home after a show, I'd be inclined to go like, yeah, I might take you up on that, just out of curiosity. And then to have like a dumb, stupid accident like that, it's tragic. It hits close to home. That's what I'm saying,
And you have to be pretty steeped in a lot of different genres to do what you do.
I do. Unfortunately, I love it all. I'm as comfortable in the funk realm as the classic soul realm, as the heavy metal realm. I just like good music, in any sort of genre. So if people are playing something that's engaging or interesting or interactive, like on stage, I don't care what the genre is, we're just going to have fun with it. I was going to tell you my John Entwistle story too, because you brought him up. I'm looking right now, right in front of me. It's an 8-string alembic, the Explorer body model.
Mm-hmm.
It was built in 1980s, basically the Entwistle model that he had for the late 70s, early 80s version of the Who. And I saw that tour in 82, I think. I don't know, was it
Face Dances?
The one after that, Eminence Front.
Oh, yeah,
it's
yeah,
hard.
yeah.
It's hard.
Yeah, it's hard.
That was the tour, yeah, with Kenny Jones on drums. And I got, it was a general admission in an arena, and I weaseled my way right down front. I was probably the second or third row of bodies pressed in front of the barricade, right in front of John. And I'm just looking up at him, and I'm like watching the fingers go. I'm like trying to figure out how he's doing that, and how he's fingering it, how he's attacking, where he's playing, because these days, you can go to YouTube and find any video pretty much of anybody playing. If you want to figure out John Entwistle's technique now, you go to YouTube and click, 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 and there it is. You can see it. But back in our day when we was youngins, you had to go to the concert. You might see him on Saturday Night Live for 3 minutes, or the midnight special for 3 minutes. Like, you weren't going to really get to see one of your heroes play like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember going to the concert, and I'm like, I might as well have had a notebook with me. Like, okay, so that song he does on the 3rd fret, and
Do you write your own music?
I do. Yeah. In fact, one of the things I did during the pandemic, during the lockdown, it was like, I realized that all my friends were unemployed too. So like, I had a recording trio, a project band that I did with a couple of friends of mine, maybe about a dozen years ago. And we would meet every Tuesday and sort of like record each other's stuff. Is it like kind of a fusion trio kind of thing? Get us out of the house and also get us practicing and get us, writing, that kind of thing. And I have like 75 tracks in the can that I did with that project over the course of 3 or 4 years. And then over the pandemic, I said, I can still do this, but I can do it remotely now. Because now with the file sharing, I can send WAV files to the drummer, and the drummer sends me a WAV file back at his track, and I was getting people to play on my stuff that I never would have asked before, because I knew they were all sitting home. So, I did, 25, 26 different tracks over the course of the 15 months. And a company called Color Red Music out in Colorado picked me up and signed me as an artist, and they're starting to release my stuff now.
Oh, wow.
And license all my back catalog that I've had. So I'm like, yeah, we kind of tried to make lemonade out of the whole thing, It's working out. It's working out in a weird way. It's working out.
You have the book. You have a website.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And what's that website?
Funkboy.net, Funkboy.net. It's got links to everything. Got links to the book, all my music, the videos that I made. It's all there. And way more information than you would ever want to know about my life or career is on that website, including those pictures you were talking about. The photo gallery is kind of almost worth the price of admission alone.
Well, I know you're on Facebook. Do you have Instagram or anything
I got
else?
everything. The links to all the socials are all on my website, funkboy.net, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all that nonsense. I think I'm even on TikTok, even though I haven't posted anything on there, like all the kids today with their rock and roll. So yeah, I'm available. I can be found. I can be researched. If anybody's interested, there's plenty to read up on or check out, listen to, look at.
I really appreciate your time.
Man, thank you so much. I really appreciate talking to you. I appreciate your time. Thank you for having me on here and introduce me to all your listeners who are people I probably don't know yet, and I'm glad to meet them. So it's a wonderful thing, and I really appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you. And for those of you who are either watching or listening, if you're new to the channel, thank you for stopping by. Please subscribe and come back. And for those of you who are regular, thank you for your support, because it's because of you we do what we do. And until the next time, everyone, please take care. Be kind to one another. God bless and peace.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Listen to the Vibes. You can catch us on Buzzsprout or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts, and on YouTube. Follow us on Facebook at The Vibes Broadcast Network